Hello and welcome to another Demon 212 NGC review. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Luigi's Mansion, which I meant to take a look at a hell of a long time ago, but with it being a launch game and all, and when I started to do GameCube games I thought I'd do it then, and then I never got around to doing it. Anyway, I'll have to get into the gameplay before I actually mention what it is, because it's a weird one. It's just like a bit of all sorts. At the start though, you choose your file, you go through the story. Luigi's won a mansion, you go to the mansion, all's not as it seems. You find ghosts, you're given a vacuum cleaner that can suck up ghosts, and then you have to capture the ghosts and you have to rescue Mario. So I've already done all the start bits, so I'm not going to be going there. I'm going to be going into a file near the end, but I'm not going to be doing any spoilers or anything. That's why I'm at the end, so you can't see me beating the puzzles and that. So I've got a choice to go to the mansion, the training room, or the gallery. Obviously the training room's a training. The gallery's where you go to view the ghosts that you've captured from pictures, because there's a lot, as I say, there's a lot going on with this. There's an artist who paints pictures, they become ghosts. The artist themselves also a ghost from a picture. You have to capture them, put them back in their pictures, and that's part of how you complete the game. Another part of how you complete the game, you've got to get 50 boos, which, as you can see, I've got 50 out of 50 there. Another part of how you complete the game is it's a bit like Wario. You've got to get a ton of cash. Another part of how you beat the game is that you've got to get 5 Mario items. This is what I mean by there's a lot going on. There's no one definitive way to sum this up. It's almost like Resident Evil for kids, because you're going around a haunted mansion and that, and you've got to solve a lot of puzzles, and you've got to find out where to go, and you've got to find the items that I've mentioned, and you've got to find the boos, find things like that. Gameplay wise, it's basically a third-person shooter, only not, because you do use dual analog to move things around, but you don't get a third-person shooter camera point. It's obviously a wink and a nod to Ghostbusters as well, with the fact that you've got a pack on your back and you're trying to suck the ghosts up, and then you go to a big machine and you put the ghosts in and things like that. It's just as I see it, it's definitely a weird one. There's a lot to do, there's a lot to be going around, and one of the things is as you're going around you actually upgrade your vacuum cleaner and get different abilities, which is why I've had to go to a later file, and then I'm going to go into a very early file so I can at least show some ghost hunting. But the later file I've got to be here in order to show off the different powers, because you can get different medallions and the medallions do different things. I think if I've got this right, this room, this area will let me show off all 3. So first you get the ability to suck up fire and then spit out fire, and you can hold it down for a continual jet, or you can push it to do a fireball, which is quite cool. And then this is what I'm saying by hopefully I've got this right, because in here there is a refrigerator which I can suck open, because if you open it, it hurts you. Although I think I'm going to have to get hurt. Oh, no, just got there. Right, so this is ice. This is actually the last power you get. And again, you can hold it for a continuous sprayer, or you can fire icicles or ice balls out, or whatever they're supposed to be. And then you also get the water power, which is the one in the middle, and it's the one I've got here. And again, burst or fire out bubbles of water. As you're going along, you have to use these in order to either put out fire, or some ghosts will actually have frozen hearts and you have to melt them in order to latch onto them. And this is what I mean by it's kind of a bit like Resident Evil, because there's a lot of puzzle solving going on. There's more puzzle gameplay to this than anything else, which is why really I'd personally class it as a puzzle game, because it is an action adventure but with a hell of a lot of puzzles. You've got to be going around finding keys, you've got to find where to go. There's thankfully 170 odd million ways to save on the game, and to be fair, I don't actually think I'm going to have to go to an early file, because I've at least found some ghosts. Because as well as going around, you've got toads to find, and they let you save. Every time you get a boo, it lets you save, so you never really have to worry about saving or anything. As you might have noticed on the bottom left, you've got an energy meter. On the bottom right, you've got a Game Boy Horror. The Game Boy Horror shows you your map. It shows you what ghosts you've captured by going here, and it shows you what items you've got. It also allows you to go into this mode, and you can scan ghosts, and you can also look around for secret areas. And it's a very little novel idea. It was something that I really liked when the game came out. And overall, I was happy with most of the game. It's one of those things that when I got it for my 15th birthday. I actually got the GameCube for my 15th birthday with Melee, Rogue Leader, and Tony Hawk's 3. And I loved all the games that I got with it, but this one was probably the weakest of the bunch because it was relatively easy even back then. Nowadays, it's rather easy for myself because I've beat it before, so I fleed through it in order to get the footage to actually do the review. And it's just one of those. Part of the easiness is that there's health everywhere. It's just quite easy to come by. Fighting the ghosts isn't really that hard if you're smart about it. The main difficulty is the puzzling, and it's solving where to go and what to do next. So the first time I beat the game, when I was younger and a bit naive and stupid and that, it took me quite a while, and I did really enjoy it for that. But once I've replayed it now, I've realised just how much easier the game was if you take away the difficulty of the puzzles, because all of a sudden you've only really got to focus on the difficulty of the gameplay, and it's not all that difficult. Don't get me wrong, I still died on this way more than on the likes of Twilight Princess, which I've mentioned about a million times, but it is probably the epitome of the easiest game for me, because it's a game that took 55 hours and I didn't die once, so that's why I keep mentioning that one. So I still found it harder than that, and I was still able to enjoy it more. But if I'm honest, if you've never played Luigi's Mansion before and you do like hard games and you're an advanced gamer, you're probably not going to have any difficulty at all. The only reason I could really recommend you trying this is the fact that Luigi's Mansion 2 is coming out on the 3DS, and I'm really hoping for a lot of things with that, because I've mentioned the ice, the water and the fire. One of the things I haven't mentioned before, which I can mention here, are warp mirrors, which take you back to the... If you scan them, at least if you do it right, I've just messed up a bit there. If you scan them, then they'll take you back to the start of the mansion, so it's always a quick getaway if you need to come back here. If, for example, you're on the 3rd floor and now you have to go down to the basement, it's faster to do that. But I've mentioned the water, the fire and that. There's a couple of things I'd like to see them add with the 3DS version. I'd like an electric power. I'd quite like... So there's invisible ghosts on the game, and I'd quite like, if I'm honest, ability to like spray dust on them to make them visible, because on this you have to use the mirrors at times or just look for shadows, so it would be quite nice to be able to fire out all the dust you've sucked up to make the ghost visible. I think that would be a quite nice novel idea. I've already heard there's going to be 3 mansions. I'm hoping that it's going to be a case of the first mansion is GameCube difficulty, the second mansion is maybe SNES difficulty, and the third mansion is maybe NES difficulty. I'd be quite happy if that was the way that worked. One of the secrets I'd love to be, in all of the Mario games, everyone always says the secret is that you can play the game again as Luigi. I would absolutely love it if on Luigi's Mansion 2, once you beat the game 100%, it unlocked the ability to play as Mario. I just think that would be funny. It'd be a nice nod to the fans. I also want to know what they're going to do with things like the Game Boy Horror, because are they going to do a 3DS Horror or a play on that? There's just a lot of things that I'm looking forward to. That it's probably my most anticipated 3DS title this year, and it sounds a bit weird because, as I say, I'm kind of not so much slating this, but saying that this was a bit stupidly easy in places. But as I said with Mario Galaxy, you can forgive it because it's the first title. It's what they do with the second title, and if they make the second title harder, then I could always look back and say, well, I still enjoyed the first one, I found the puzzles hard, but the second one's where it's at. So that is pretty much everything I can say about the game, other than to now show off the extra mansion and explain that, because I did say I would. So, couple of things I can mention. First of all, I haven't shown off the options screen because there isn't particularly any options. It's like basic and basic as. You can view a couple things like change your sound effects and that and the brightness. But the hidden mansion, it's what you get. It's your reward for beating the game. And beating the game well with pretty much all the ghosts and like a load of cash. To be fair, I don't even know if you need the ghosts. And it's basically kind of like a mirror mode mansion, and it's darker, and it's a bit harder in places. And it's one of those that it's a bit of a shame that it's not there as an option to play from the beginning, quite frankly, because it would have been it would have made the game harder for people from the start, and it just, I think more people would have favoured it back then, and it maybe would have scored higher than it did, because it did receive mediocre reviews from a lot of places, and I think that is partially the difficulty in the length of the game. But other than what I've mentioned there with the mirror mode, there's not really much I can mention. I suppose gameplay wise I should mention what's just happened there, because I forgot to. Once you've cleared a room, then it lights up, so you don't have to worry about there being ghosts or anything in it. But it also means that sometimes you'll miss some hidden stuff if you're not thorough, because part of how you get cash is things like golden mice and blue ghosts, and blue ghosts only appear in dark rooms and they only appear once, so if you miss your opportunity, then that's it, you've blown it. It's why, in all honesty, when I was playing through the game for the review, I'd already beat it, I'd already got the year mansion. I didn't really like the constant repeating bits in order to try and get the blue ghosts and saving saving smart and things like that. So I'll be honest, I chucked the cheat device in and give myself 99 of every gold gem and things like that, just to make sure I got the year mansion to be able to show it off in the review, because I wasn't really bothered about unlocking it because I'd already done it before. Cutscenes and all that in the game, like this here, they're quite good, and there's quite a lot of humour in the game. I especially love the end cutscene. I really was crying with laughter the first time I saw it, because it's just, well, it's funny, and that's pretty much what Luigi is to me. Luigi's the funny brother, and as far as I'm concerned, he's the better brother. Mario's the egotistical, egomaniac, you know, just like egomaniacal, just quite frankly, bit of a prick. But Luigi, to me, he's funny, he's the better brother. I've always favoured Luigi, so as much as I'd like to see a bit of a nod to past Mario games and making Mario playable in Luigi's Mansion 2, I'll be honest, part of me kind of wants it to just be a Luigi-only affair. So there we go then. That's been the review. I hope you found it helpful. I don't score the games because that's based purely on opinion, so instead I'll leave you to make your own mind up. So thanks for watching, and if you've got any questions about the game that I didn't answer in the vid or that hasn't been answered in the comments, then feel free to ask and I'll help if I can. Also, if you did find it helpful, don't forget to check out my channel, because there's plenty more like this up there, and don't forget to subscribe because there'll be plenty more to come as well. So until next time, this has been Demon212, signing off.